So there's talk with some of these people in New York and DC about giving Ukraine nuclear weapons as a last ditch thing that Biden does before he leaves office. Imagine giving nuclear weapons to an authoritarian, corrupt country like Ukraine. These people tout that Ukraine is a representative of the free world. Closer examination, anybody who's paying attention knows that Ukraine is a more authoritarian, more corrupt country than Russia is. Now, obviously, Russia's not perfect, but Ukraine is even less perfect than Russia. Ukraine is not at all a representative of the free world. Ukraine is a representative of a proxy war that the West is trying to wage against Russia in their bid to escalate the war to try to get Russia to strike first into NATO countries to trigger Article 5 so they can get their World War III, so they can, these elites can grasp victory from the jaws of defeat because they're losing politically. Now, the Kremlin knows this. They know that they're trying to be tricked into a war, and I'm hoping that the Russians will not take the bait with this. Although what is happening is cause for them to go to war. You're talking about enemy forces, NATO forces, and their weapons striking inside Russia. It's been well known for a long time that Russia ought to respond, and any country, anybody would respond in such a situation. But just imagine giving Ukraine nuclear weapons. Arming nuclear weapons against another country. Sound familiar? Sound like the Cuban Missile Crisis? What did John F. Kennedy do in response to that? Well, we rolled in nuclear weapons in Turkey, and we told Khrushchev to get those nuclear weapons out of Cuba. And then there was a detente where they got them out of Cuba, we got them out of Turkey. But this is the break of nuclear war. We're getting to that level. In fact, and arguably, we're past that level right now. We're closer to nuclear war than ever. And that's according to the experts. That's not my opinion. But I'll put a link in the article below. This is just absolute insanity. Imagine if there was a proxy war that the Mexicans were fighting against the United States, and the Mexicans began launching missiles into the United States, Russian-built missiles into the United States, and Russian troops and Chinese troops and Iranian and North Korean troops were amassing on the southern border of the United States. And then they said, well, we're going to give Mexico nuclear weapons. I don't think the United States would tolerate that. People here in the United States wouldn't tolerate it. And a lot of people in Russia are not tolerating this, by the way. There's nothing good that'll come out of this. It serves no American interest to do this. There's nothing in Ukraine that the United States needs. The United States, domestically doesn't have their intellectual stuff together to even formulate a foreign policy, let alone, go to war with a country. If we were to go to war with a country, why? Quote unquote, for freedom, to defend a more corrupt and more authoritarian country. Right. Okay. So obviously this doesn't make any sense. This is not a war for the American people. This is a war for the elite, so that the elite can keep their boot stomped onto the necks of people.